So now we have a segment called Team by Team Analysis, which is where we pick a division a week. This week is the AFC East, which is like all of our segments this week is with the AFC East. And we just talk over like each team for the AFC East and like what their future plans are, what they're doing for agency and stuff like that. So the first team that we have is the New York Jets, and so we're just going to talk about like the strengths, the weaknesses, the needs, cap situation, like their targets and free agency and their draft options. So their team strengths that I put for the Jets are the wide receiver position, the D-line position, the safety position, and the cornerback position. Just to let you guys know, three out of those four positions are defense, which says a lot about the Jets. What do you guys think about those?
I personally don't think. Well, wide receiver is a strength for them, I guess, currently, but really, I don't know if it is, because Brandon Marshall maybe got a year, 2 left in him at most. Eric Decker is really just a number 2 receiver because...
A really good number 2 receiver.
Yeah, but if you once Brandon Marshall leaves,
yeah,
he's nothing again. What happened when he was the number 1 for you guys that 1 year? He didn't do squat.
To be fair, his quarterback was.
Yeah, so. but when Demaryius Thomas has gotten hurt in the past and he had Peyton Manning, he still didn't do anything. So he's not, and I'm not the only one that feels this. I even saw an article.
He's fit for the number 2 role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is, but he's similar to he's like a better version of Golden Tate, and I also don't know if defensive line is their thing. The only reason why I say this is because Muhammad Wilkerson might be putting a tag in trade, and Damon Harrison might not return to them. And they're still going to be good. They still got Leonard Williams coming up, but I don't know if they're as dominant as they used to be.
Yeah,
still a strength,
the loss of Damon Harrison, potentially, if we do lose him, that's a big loss. He was rated the number 1 run-stopping defensive tackle in the league. You know, that's a big part of our defense, is run defense. You know, he's a focal point of the defensive line, and without him, it might not be as dominant, like you said.
He had a lot of tackles for a nose tackle, which is really, really hard because he gets double teamed by like the center and the guard on certain plays. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of tackles like that, you know, that's a valuable asset to your defensive line. Nose tackle is just, they don't get a lot of tackles or sacks. They just clog the holes that they can't get through. Mm-hmm. Getting tackles and sacks from that, he had a half a sack, which is pretty good for a nose tackle. It's pretty impressive.
And one final thing that I forgot to say about their defensive line is they do have Sheldon Richardson, who is really, really good.
Almost better than Wilkerson.
Problem is his off-the-field issues. And if he can't get that straightened up, then really you don't even have him. You might not even have him for, the first 4 games?
Yeah, probably first 4.
So.
Another thing, with Cromartie gone and him not even being as good as we had expected last year, coming off a Pro Bowl season in Arizona, signing him, we had to cut him. I mean, because obviously the Jets knew he wasn't worth $8 million after his play last year.
Yeah. Do
we re-sign him for cheaper? I mean, with what we have right now with Revis and Marcus Williams, is that really a strength? D. Milner, Darren Walls, Buster Screen, is cornerback still a strength, you think?
I mean, it's not like a weakness, but it's still like you still have pretty good players. And another thing, Darrell Revis is not the elite quarterback he was. He's still really, really good. He's still like top 7. You know, he's not like. He's definitely not like the guy that locks down everything, but he still makes plays. Like, he makes game-changing plays still.
See, but to me, that's the problem with the Jets. They have a whole bunch of great players that are almost or are out of their prime. And they paid them last year, they paid them so much money that it kind of screwed them over a little bit. And I feel like it's finally going to come back to bite them. Although, they did release... Cromartie, which freed up a lot of cap. But then they franchise tagged Muhammad Wilkerson, which put that all right back on. And honestly added more. What did they re-sign for?
15 mil?
15 mil. And they released Cromartie, and that saved them 8 or 11.
It was $8 million.
It was $8 million they saved.
So they lost $7 million.
They lost $7 million out of the deal between the two of them. So it's going to be hard for the Jets. I think what they tried to do was build a Super Bowl team. It didn't work. They're going to try it again this year, and see.
Well, no one thought they were going to even make the playoffs this year. This is like
they thought they would make the playoffs because your defensive line.
At the beginning, I don't think.
Well, no, that's because they started off pretty shaky, right?
No, they started off 4-1. There was a surprise start. So they did like the Jets. front office is building for like a Super Bowl or like a playoff run for the next 2 or 3 years, and then after that they just want to get their young guys in. That's their plan right now. So now we're gonna go on to team weaknesses, and what I put for that is the O-line, the linebackers, special team, and the age of the team. So what do you guys think about that one?
Like Nick said before with the age of the team, I mean, it's, and like you said too, they built what's going to be, if not a Super Bowl contender, at least a playoff contender for the next 2 or 3 years. But after that, they're going to need to rely on whatever they get in the next few years draft, whoever they sign that's young. They're going to need to rely on their young guys after, Brandon Marshall, Darrelle Revis. Like, their elite guys as of right now are done.
Yeah, I think Devin Smith is going to have to play a big role for that, too.
If he could just stay healthy. Also, another big thing is, if you watch a Jets game the entire year, you could see that special teams lost them 3 or 4 games. Pretty sure they lost them 2 Buffalo Bill games because Bullock missed a field goal, and then Smith fumbled a kickoff return, which went for a touchdown, and they lost both of those games by a touchdown. And then they lost the Eagles game by a touchdown when they let who's it? Darren Sproles return it, and then they also let who's the guy? Dwayne Harris. I mean, they still lost. They still won that game, but it still put them in like a two score lead. Yeah. Like it just the special teams was nothing like it should be. It lost us games, and so what do you guys think about the special teams?
And in football, there's 3 phases of the game. There's special teams, there's offense, there's defense. And if you automatically take yourself out of special teams, you only got 2 phases that you could potentially win. And in football, 9 times out of 10, the team that wins 2 out of the 3 phases ends up winning the game. And so you already put yourself at a disadvantage even if your special teams is bad. And a lot of people don't realize how important special teams is. It sets the tone for the game. It sets, like, if you get a big play right off the jump, all your players are hyped now. Everybody's going crazy. So
such as, like, Donald Davis's return for a touchdown in the playoff game versus the Texans. Once that happened, you knew that, like, it was going to be a blowout. It was done after that. That one play set the tone for the entire season. So also, one more thing before we go on to the next segment. Next thing is special teams is It's really hard to get players for special teams that aren't kickers, punt returners, and punters. Mm-hmm. You can't get someone that's a special teams guy.
Tackler. You can make stops on special teams. I mean, and you really can, but there's not really special teams specialists, like people designated that role. But there are guys.
There's some, but there's not like a lot.
Yeah, like linebacker, safety.
The only thing I can think of is Matt Slater. That's the only thing.
I thought maybe Ben Tate for the Bengals, I think, played a similar role. Maybe. I'm not sure. I might be getting him mixed up with something.
It's just coverage. That's the only reason the Jets lost at special teams stage.
Go to free agency targets and drafts.
So first I just want to say the cap situation is $14 million, but then again we did this before. They covered Cromartie, which made him go to $22 million, and then they franchise tax Mo, which now brings him down to $7 million right now, and unless they do a long-term deal with them with 4%. All right, so now we're gonna go to the targets and free agency and draft options for all the team needs. So the first one is quarterback right now because Ryan Fitzpatrick right now is not on the roster, but I still think that they should re-sign him. I think that he's maybe for a year, maybe 2, because you have Petty in the backup role, but you don't know if he's ready this year or even in the next, because he's still learning the offense and he's still learning how to play. I think he's going to be really good. He's just not ready yet. If you sign Fitzpatrick for 1 more year, get him that 1 more year of experience and let the Fitzpatrick ride that team maybe into the playoffs if they're that good. That's the thing they can do. I don't think they should draft a quarterback, but if they do, like Wentz or Cook, I don't know about Wentz if going down to 20, unless something major happens, but Cook in the second round could be an option for them.
Yeah, he's the kind of quarterback that, what you see is what you get with him, you know what I mean? He could be deadly accurate, but he could also be a little inconsistent.
That was with some games.
Yeah, so he is a great quarterback, and I think if there is a quarterback that'll be near the Jets at that time, it'll be Cook. That's what I think.
So now we have the next position, which is running back. And I only say running back is because they only have one running back on the roster. That's Zach Stacy, and he's not even a third down back right now. So Ivory, Powell, and Stephon Ridley are free agents right now. I don't know if people agree with me on this. You guys might, but I don't think they should re-sign Ivory. What do you guys think about that? That's my personal opinion.
I don't think they need him because of the way that they used him. When they gave him the ball a lot, he would go insane. And when they didn't give him the ball, or when they got down by even a touchdown or the score was even tied, they just completely abandoned him. And I had him on my fantasy team, and that's why I know this. And it sucked. And I feel like if they're not even going to use him properly, plus he was a little injury prone, honestly, just forget about him and try to get whoever else you could find at that time.
Also, I think that they should definitely re-sign Powell as a third down
Oh,
back.
yes, absolutely. Powell played a big role for them, and they started to lean on him more heavily towards the end of the season.
Because he emerged into that third passing option. You know, you had Marshall and Decker, Devin Smith, Jeremy Curley, all those other wide receivers didn't turn into that guy. He was the one that turned into that guy to blow out Powell at the end of the year. Also, I didn't put this under team needs, but it is a very big need.
Yeah,
tight end.
That's what I was just about to say. I can't remember the last time the Jets had like an actual threat at tight end.
Well,
Jason Morrow was alright.
Keller.
No, but I'm saying Dustin Keller was, but not for long. He was good. Like I'll look up his stats. You guys can keep talking, but I don't know really how.
The injury to Amaro really hurt that tight end position, and when that happened, Gailey knew that he had no tight ends. He was like, "Okay, we're just gonna not make that a phase. We're gonna go with 4 wide receivers and a running back every single play," which worked really, really well because their offense succeeded. If they had that tight end, that's another passing option because Cumberland, Davis, they were blocking tight ends They weren't tight ends that you would rely on to, I just remember screaming at the TV during that Bills game when they threw the game-winning touchdown pass to Kellen Davis, and he just completely missed it. You couldn't rely on the tight end position that year. Amar coming back may change that, but we don't know.
And Dustin Keller's stats, I just looked them up. According to ESPN, he hasn't had a season with more than 5 touchdowns. That's not a dominant tight end to me. I don't know what you guys were really talking about. He hasn't had a season. He had 1 season of 815 yards. The rest were 535 or lower. Actually, 1 was 687. So he hasn't been a dominant tight end. He's only, at the most, the season he had 815 yards. He had 65 catches on 116 targets. And he played 16 games all those seasons. So, other than that, it drops down to 55, 45, 48. So there's 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, another 2 touchdowns. He never really did. He wasn't the tight end that you guys needed. He was decent. He got the job done for the most part. But like I said, you guys haven't had a dominant tight end, and I don't even know how long.
I don't think you've ever had
you can't compare him to a Gronk or you haven't had that kind of tight end.
I mean, no one. And you can't compare no one to Gronk. But
a Jimmy Graham, any of those guys. Vernon Davis when he was in his prime, all the Tony Gonzalez, any tight end that was relatively a threat in the passing game and in the running game. A Travis Kelce, any of them. You guys haven't had one of them, I don't even know how long.
So, if you want to get a tight end in the draft, it's Hunter Henry. That's the only guy. And he's a 3rd round guy if the Jets want him. Or if they think that Amaro, coming off an injury, could actually, produce more than he did in his rookie season, then he could be the guy. Because he could be in that H-back role, which is what Gailey wants.
Yeah.
So, now we have the O-line, which is, in my opinion, a really huge need. My opinion is they should just cut Brito Giacomini altogether. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, he wasn't. For what they're paying him, he really didn't get the job done in terms of what he needed to do. I mean, he was decent at best, but you can get someone better for less money, and that's pretty much the goal, to save money and get talent in this league.
Exactly. But because there's a lot of tackles in the draft. I don't know if there's no guards, there's no centers, there's just tackles.
Yeah, tackle is a strong point in this draft. You can get 2nd, 3rd round.
That could be a 1st round pick. It's not 1st round pick, but a 1st round talent. Yeah. So the people in the draft are Taylor Decker and Jack Conklin, and I really like Taylor Decker. I don't know if we want to waste a first round pick on him.